Hello, everybody. I'm Jim Durrett, Mayor of Montgomery County, and want to bring you another one of our series of shining the spotlight where it needs to be shown. Today, I have the opportunity to interview the Director of Accounts and Budgets for Montgomery County, Jeff Taylor. And it's not an office you hear a whole lot about, but dadgum, they are involved in every single aspect of county government. So hopefully give you a little inside look on some of the great things that Jeff and them do. So Jeff, welcome.
Thank you.
So we're gonna start off, just tell us a little bit about Jeff Taylor.
I was born in Kentucky, raised there, grew up on a farm, worked there. If I wasn't working on the farm, I was playing baseball or football. After I left high school, came to Austin Peay, played baseball here for 4 years. Decided to make Clarksville my home, lived here until I met my wife and we got married. Our anniversary actually will be tomorrow. Have been married 22 years.
Oh, awesome. Congratulations.
Tax day and marriage both cost a lot of money. But we have an 8th grade son, Braden, that we spend most of our time watching him play baseball now, so we do that. And besides that, just been in Montgomery County ever since I got here to Austin Peay.
Kind of like Dada, following in Dada's steps playing baseball, huh?
Hopefully.
Yeah, did y'all ever win an OVC title while you were at Austin Peay?
Regular season we did. That
Regular
was my
season.
junior year.
Junior year?
Yes.
What position did you play?
Pitcher.
Yeah.
Lefty, just like my son. My
Do-
son
do-
is following in my footsteps.
Do you
there,
miss
too.
those days?
I miss the guys I played with.
Yeah, yeah. So when'd you come to work? What'd you do after you got out of college?
Worked at a local printing company, Precision Printing and Packaging, now Multicolor. Worked there for 12 years. During my time there, I decided I wanted to go back to school and get my degree in finance and accounting. Did that, then worked in a private firm, accounting firm for a year or so, and didn't really care for that, and had an opportunity to get on with the county in the trustee's office. Worked there for about 3.5 years, and then started my job here with accounts and budgets.
So you've been Director of Accounts and Budgets how long?
8 years. 8 years, March
Yeah.
3rd.
Well, I have to say that I noticed you said you were born and raised in Kentucky, and since Kentucky got beat out of St. Peter's, beat them in the NCAA tournament, you didn't talk about your love for Kentucky basketball, but that's okay.
I've moved on. It's okay.
Well, I'm a big UT fan and I moved on now. I'm just waiting on next year. So back up, you've been director for how long?
8 years.
8 years. Yeah. A lot of change?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
The growth in Montgomery County, not just the county government itself, but just Montgomery County in general, has been huge in just that 8-year span. I mean, my dad's family grew up here, so seeing what Montgomery County started out as when I was a kid, when you went out to exit 4, there was nothing there, to what it is now into Montgomery County, it's huge.
Yeah. Well, what's a typical day look like for you?
Guy across the hall, he usually calls about once a week trying to find us money, telling us to find him money. Beyond that, just day-to-day stuff, timesheets, requisition approvals, working on funding for projects. This time, budget year, March through June, it's just mainly, that's the main focus. A lot of the other stuff has to get set to the side while we work on budget for the budget hearings, but it's kind of one of the jobs where you don't have the same routine every day. Something pops up that you have to work on, and it kind of keeps it interesting.
And, you know, a lot of people probably realize this, maybe some don't, but really every bit of business that Montgomery County does comes through your office, and you don't have a huge office. How many people you got?
We have, besides myself, we have 8 employees, and pretty much in some way, shape, or fashion, every department within the county and some outside of the county, all their business typically flows through our office.
Right.
So it's always busy.
Yeah. And then, you know, you lead the entire charge for budgets. We have this meeting with everybody, and you tell them the schedule, when they can enter their budget, when they can't, but it's just so much interaction with every department, and we're in that time of year right now.
Right.
And it's usually from February to mid-June.
Every bit of it. Once we get the budget approved, in the middle of June, usually there's a little bit of a lull there, but
Then the auditors come in.
then the auditors come, but it's a little bit of a lull there. It's just, and the departments do a great job of getting their budgets entered. I mean, we have some newer departments, they're still learning that, but for the most part, all of our departments do a great job of entering their own budgets. If there are any questions that they have, they're good to communicate with us, and we can help them out there.
You know, I think another part of the government aspect of it is we basically all the things we have to do, you know, there's accounting laws out there, there's all these GASB rules and all that stuff, but the state comptroller's office really has a big hand in not our day-to-day operations, but the way we do business.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, between state comptroller's office, TCA code, GASB, all these regulations, they have to monitor that to make sure that we're following those rules, and we have to keep up with that and make sure we're following them ourselves.
Yeah. So, what's the toughest part of your job? Telling the mayor no?
No, that's gotten easier. After 8 years, that's gotten a little bit easier. Not really. It's just, I don't know, it's just working with the departments, budget time, trying to find the funding. I mean, right now we have probably close to $100 million in capital projects. Trying to prioritize what's the most important. I mean, a lot of that is not my decision. It's through the budget committee and the commission, but still helping them prioritize what's important and what is necessary and what they need to keep and what we need to cut. That's probably the hardest part.
Yeah, and it can get to the point that they go through this process, they being the elected officials, me included in that, but they go through this process and they've basically, before the budget committee takes it to the county commission, they're saying, okay, this is where we are, and then when you look at the numbers, there's not enough revenue to cover the expenses,
Right.
and so you have to say to elected officials, hey, you're gonna have to cut something,
I mean,
or you're gonna have to raise taxes.
that's the hard one
Yeah.
to sell.
Yeah.
And I mean, for me, we always have tax rate funding, sometimes we get grant funding, bond proceeds, and we just have to decide if we're willing to borrow money for some of these projects, and it takes a lot of time and thought to come into those decisions.
Right. Jeff, this is one thing that I really wasn't gonna talk about it, but I really think we ought to talk about it. And we got beat up pretty bad, 2 years ago on the reappraisal year.
Right.
But I think and I've heard you say it so many times that, and you're not advocating for a tax increase, you're not doing that, but when the county commission votes to go to the certified rate as opposed to leaving the rate where it is, there's always a consequence in the next year or the next following year.
The increase in value in our properties is where we get that additional revenue to fund these projects, and costs go up every year. And after COVID, you know as well as I do, most of our projects, 30 to 40% increase. So recouping that increase in the penny value of the property tax rate, that's how we can alleviate having to raise taxes in the future. If we do it through reappraisal to where we can take that growth and take advantage of it, it alleviates us having to raise taxes the year after, because in the past history, that's what we've done is when we have a reappraisal, we decrease it down close to the certified rate, and then a year or two later, we have to turn right around and increase the tax rate back up.
Yeah.
If you leave it alone at the reappraisal rate, or at least not decrease it all the way down, that allows the county to take advantage of that, and you probably don't have to go back and do tax increases 2 years later.
Yeah. And I think historically, if you look at our tax rate and you go back 15 or so years, our tax rates come from like 330, I don't know, somewhere in, to where it is today. But it's been a steady decline.
Right.
Because growth helps increase your revenues, but when they make these political decisions at reappraisal year to go to the certified rate, and then in 2 years, you have this big tax increase again.
Right.
But
you have to recoup that money that you've lost by dropping it back down.
Exactly.
You have to think about it too. yes, it's an increase if we don't drop it down. But at the same time, a lot of those times too, those people's homes are increasing in value too, so they can take advantage of that whenever they sell the
Right.
property.
Right, and I didn't mean to get you into this, political conversation, but I think it's interesting, and I think people, you could probably sit here and talk about it and argue both sides of it, every single day, but, when you talk about that and talk about, the value of our penny and as it equates to our tax rate and what you do in a reassessment year and everything, I think if people look at county government as a whole, it's operated pretty lean. What do you think?
From the operating budget standpoint, the budget committee, I mean, you've been here going on, this is your 8th budget. And for the most part, our operating budgets, like you just said, are pretty lean. There's not a lot to cut in most areas. Where in the most expensive area is personnel.
Yeah.
And as Montgomery County continues to grow, we have to look at adding personnel in certain areas like law enforcement, EMS, area, and offices within the county. So when you do that, those costs add up. And it's just part of the nature of our office.
Employees are a big expense. And as we grow, some departments need more. I mean, you talk about building and codes, the volume of permits that they're doing today versus 10 years ago, and
County clerk.
Yeah, county clerk, even the register of deeds. I mean, they just, the volume of work that's going in and out of a lot of our offices today is just, it's unbelievable. What do you think and this is a really different question to you versus a lot of other people, because you're looking at the overall financial, I can't think of the word I'm wanting to say, but the well-being of Montgomery County. What are some short-term challenges?
Just dealing with the growth. I think growth is both a short-term and a long-term challenge. Trying to provide the services that we need to the citizens, providing the facilities that we need to the departments. I think that's both the short and long-term issue, not necessarily issue, just a challenge for the county.
If somebody was asking you that gone to school and did a business background or accounting background or something, they wanted to come to work for just to be a government employee, what's your take on that?
I think I've enjoyed working for Montgomery County. You may not make the greatest money of all in that profession with the county government, but the people that you work with, I think for the most part, you work with a group of people that actually care about what goes on in your life and are there for you when you need them, and then you be there for when they need you. That's one aspect where I think we have a great group of employees. It's a great culture, and I enjoy working here.
What do you dislike about it? Elections?
Elections, somewhat. I guess that's probably not the biggest thing. Transitioning from one administration to another is always a challenge. You go through hiccups, but for the most part, I mean, for when you took over, it was a pretty smooth transition. There wasn't a lot of issues with that. I guess the biggest for me is just like this time of year, just having to spend more time at work and having less time with family.
Yeah, a budget season's pretty tough.
It can be.
Yeah, and I don't think a lot of people realize that, because we are the government, and so when we put our budget together, there's all this other stuff that has to be, like we have to advertise and we have to do all those things. Right. We have to have a public hearing on it. So it's very, very different from the private sector.
Oh, it is. Yeah. Government moves slower.
Yeah.
And I think that's something that when people come into county government, they don't understand completely sometimes, is with all the rules and regulations that we have to follow, that it does move much slower than what the private sector does.
Yeah. Perfect example of that, Jeff Truitt. And I want to go back to what I said about the government and all the things we have to do. We need to do that because that's transparency.
Right.
I mean, we need to do that. We don't have anything to hide by any means, but it's something we certainly need to do. So you moved here to go to Austin Peay, 1990, on a baseball scholarship. Probably didn't do a lot in the community back then, but yeah.
I mean, at that time, a lot of the volunteers.
Typical college student.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Here to go to school, play baseball, and have fun.
yeah. Graduated, got married, now you live here, you call it home. Why would you tell somebody to move to Montgomery County?
Just for the fact of, from a military, just on the, starting with the military side, this is probably one of the best communities for military families to live, because they look out for their own and they watch out for the military families. And not even military related. Look at what happens when the flood, for example, in Humphreys County. How many people came to action through Montgomery County to help those citizens? Whenever there's a tornado, like at Farmington a few years ago, what people volunteer to come and help do. And Montgomery County is well known for that, and that's probably one of the biggest reasons I recommend people living here.
Yeah, awesome. What's been one of the most gratifying things, and this is hard to ask somebody that's the accountant for Montgomery County or the budget director, but what's one of the most gratifying things that's happened to you in your career? And before I ask that, I want to back up, because I think the public needs to know this. When you worked in the trustee's office, that had to be some pretty dadgum good experience to come to accounts and budgets, because the trustee's office is the banker for Montgomery County.
And that's what brought me to the job. I like number crunching. I like playing with numbers, and I know it's boring for most people. For me, it's something I enjoyed, and that's why I liked working at that job. But dealing with people and stuff, it was a very solitary job. You just kind of stayed back in your office and did that work. With this job, and it's probably where I get the most gratification, and I don't know, I can't think of any significant one event that is most gratifying, but just being able to help departments, help people, and find solutions to any problems they have, that's the reward, I guess, for what I do.
Yeah, that's pretty awesome, because almost everybody that's been in this series has talked about being able to help people, but y'all are the people that are behind the scenes that are allowing them to go out and do the help that they do to the citizens of Montgomery County every day. Whether it's an elected official like John Fuson or Kelly Jackson, or whether it's building and codes, Rod Streeter, or EMS, Bill Webb, all of those. And, it's just, I never thought about that from your side of it. I was thinking you were gonna say, well, we were under budget 10 years in a row or something, but
that's gratifying.
I know it is, but I think it speaks volumes to who you are, of being able to help facilitate somebody that's needing to do something and figuring out a way financially for them to do it, so they can continue to bring a great service and to help people in Montgomery County.
That's pretty much it.
Any questions I didn't ask you that you want me to ask you?
What's it been like working for Jim Durrett?
This isn't about me. That's the reason we're doing this series. It's not about me. It's about y'all. And I just think it's so important that people know that county government's big, and there's a lot of things that go on in county government, but we have some really rock stars. I mean, we do. We have some people that just do great work. And, I know I can pick up the phone and call you and say, hey, Jeff, we got this problem, or we need to do this, or what do you think about this? And you're going to shoot me straight. I mean, and that's what I admire about you and your staff, and really everybody that I work with is, if there's a way to do it, y'all will help find it. But if it can't be done, and you're not going to do anything that's going to jeopardize the financial well-being of Montgomery County.
I mean, we've always told everybody, whenever they've been in elected office, our job is to keep them one of our main jobs is to keep them out of trouble, and make sure things that are done the right way. And one thing that you were talking about, just the staff, I mean, my staff, they're great. I mean, we have 8 people, and you're talking about a county with over 1,200 employees, not including departments like Bi-County, 911, the airport that we also do the bookkeeping for. So for us to do that with a staff of 8, kinda tells me how extraordinary they are.
Yes, not a lot of downtime, is it?
No, sir.
Man, I appreciate it, Jeff.
Thank you.
Thank you.